At this time, I would like to introduce our keynote speaker for this year, UCLA's Dean of Humanities, Professor David Schaberg. Dean Schaberg is a scholar of ancient Chinese, Greek, and Latin literature. Since coming to UCLA in 1996, he has published an award-winning book and numerous articles on early Chinese historical writing, literature, philosophy, and oratory. Most recently, he has completed a translation with 2 collaborators of China's first great historical work, the Zuochuan. He has served as co-director of the Center for Chinese Studies and chair of the Department of Asian Languages and Cultures, and was proud to receive the UCLA Staff Assembly Faculty Staff Partnership Award in 2011. Please join me in welcoming the Dean of the Division of Humanities, David Schaberg.
Thank you very much, Zrinka. My thanks to everyone for being here today. It's such a celebratory time. You know, if you attended the college commencement yesterday, you know that we like to get into a little bit of creative contention among the divisions. The other deans and I like to talk a little bit about the special strengths that distinguish graduates in each of the divisions. At the same time, of course, we're convinced that every one of you has had an opportunity at least to sample in some measure the amazing wealth of offerings that UCLA has. And I want to reflect a little bit on what you've done during your time here and what it means for your next steps in life. UCLA, as you've no doubt come to learn during your time here, is a kind of a comprehensive teaching and learning environment. It's a place where, naturally, the faculty are involved in teaching, and you'll find also that every staff member here is involved in one form of teaching or another. You also will have found during this time that some of the most important teachers in your university life are other students. The people who have filled your late night conversations or challenged you in class, or who are going to go on to be close friends in future, people with whom you'll continue to examine issues and problems. But I want you to focus on what you've become during these years. Of course, you entered UCLA as elite learners. It's incredibly difficult to get into UCLA. And you came here because you were already proving yourselves as superb, elite learners. You're also true learners, and I take that to mean that during this time, although you may have been looking for your calling and may indeed have found it, you've never been devoted to finding just one trade, one particular narrow vocation. Instead, you've been open to all the different kinds of learning that an education at a great university can bring. I think as humanists, as students who've done degrees in the Division of Humanities, you're also something a little deeper than that. And that's true learners in the sense of people singularly capable of opening yourself to other traditions, other people's values. You're listeners. You've trained yourselves as people who are capable of recognizing in other people the things that matter most to them. And the reason I mention this is because, particularly in these times, the university becomes an especially important place because it is always aspirationally a microcosm of what we hope for in our society. A place where difference is recognized and appreciated, a place where diversity is the basis of new forms of recognition, new forms of excellence, new forms of creativity. And that means that at this moment, when you're graduating, when you're preparing to take your next steps, you face questions about how to take those values forward with you, how to transport the idealism, the very important idealism of the university setting into the lives you're going to lead elsewhere in society and elsewhere in the world. Now, Confucius is supposed to have said at one point, 三人行，必有我师焉, by which he meant, when 3 people are walking together, there's bound to be a teacher there for me. He was recognizing his nature as an indomitable learner, as a person who was always going to learn. In fact, that's the way he was praised by his disciples and the people who followed after them. You are indomitable learners as well. But it adds a dimension, It adds a dimension to what you're doing. You're also becoming teachers. During these years, you've learned a great deal about teaching each other and about teaching the faculty as well, as I can attest from the many classroom sessions I've had in which I ended up learning at least as much as my students were learning. You'll go forth as teachers, and as particular kinds of teachers, people who have, by your own choice, taken a deep dive into something distant, something different, something human, but something that isn't intrinsically or fundamentally alien to you. And that means that as you go forward, you're going to be in a position always to represent the kinds of values that our predecessors and our counterparts in other parts of the world have enunciated as the most important values for them. You've become spokespeople for that. Now, it's common for people who haven't taken that deep dive in the humanities to say, well, what is that really worth? I'd like to remind you today that that is worth everything, that being able to represent the kinds of values that our predecessors have articulated and passed down, to be able to think clearly about those things at a moment of crisis and difficulty, whether in a workplace or in your own life, that ability makes you an invaluable addition to any group. I'd like to say, too, that you've developed a singularly high level of self-awareness and honesty. The art of the humanities classroom is to discuss frankly, to explore differences openly, to argue with respect and with clarity. And this is a skill that will always be useful for you, again, in your business life or in your private life. You're capable of listening carefully to the other people, to speaking to their values while standing by your own values, and while bringing in some of the larger reflections on worth that humanities is all about. I'd like to remind you that with the kinds of skills you leave UCLA with, you are in a position to be relentless. And here I'm borrowing the words of Anita Ortega, our excellent commencement speaker from yesterday, a person who in her life has broken many kinds of barriers. She's an inspiration to any of us, no matter what kinds of challenges we might have faced. She's a person who recognized the changes she could make, she recognized what the status quo was, and she set out to change it. And she did that through hard work, steadiness, respectfulness for others, but a clear vision of where she was going and why. I want you to be that for yourselves and for UCLA. You're singularly equipped with a kind of creativity that very few other forms of preparation can build in you. And that's because you are, again, capable of seeing where other people are coming from, capable of seeing the human complexity in any situation, capable of turning difficult things around and looking at them from new perspectives. That is the basis of creativity. And it is an absolute good that you carry forward with you from UCLA. I'd like to make a plea, too, for freedom. I think the kinds of reflections that you take on when you choose to be a humanities major are exactly the reflections that produce in you the possibility of freedom. To repeat, that's about looking at the status quo and saying, this could be different, this could be better. This could be better for more people. This could bring people together across divisions. You're humanists, you're connected intrinsically with the values of the humanities, but also the values of humaneness. It takes the kind of expertise that you've developed to be the kind of person I'm talking about. And I want all of you to have the certainty that you will be able to do these things in every aspect of your life going forward. Now, to take a classical tag for this, I could cite the great early Chinese Taoist philosopher Lao Tzu, who always spoke about how we have to preserve ourselves in a kind of unrefined state so that when we encounter any opportunity, we have all our resources and we can refine ourselves to take care of that particular situation. But I think there's a much more apt metaphor, and that's the magic pocket of Doraemon. I think that each of you has equipped yourselves with a sort of magic pocket. All of these things you've been learning here at UCLA, and particularly in your classes in the humanities, constitute a place where you can create the solutions that you need for the problems you're facing. You'll be able to pull out, whatever that is, the solution that your training and your quickness of thought and your ability of expression have prepared in you. As you graduate, I want you to go forward with a great deal of confidence. Confidence in your own preparation, in elite education, and an identity as a lifelong learner and as a lifelong teacher. I want you to go forward with strength, with confidence in the strength of the Bruin family, not only your humanities family, not only the family of graduates in 2017, but a family of 500,000 alumni of UCLA, a massive global network of people who share the values that make UCLA what it is. And of course, I want you to have confidence in yourselves as spokespeople for the values of humaneness. I congratulate you, and on behalf of all of the faculty and all of the staff in the Division of Humanities, I will have the highest hopes for your future as learners and teachers in the world. Class of 2017, warmest congratulations from me and from the whole Faculty of Humanities.